Okay, I just got back from seeing After Earth. It was bad. It was bad. It was, in fact, I am drinking my sorrows away, atrocious. I've never been the biggest fan of M. Night Shyamalan. I really like The Sixth Sense, and that's about it. The rest of his films just variations on a theme from meh to, oh god, that is retarded. Including, obviously, Signs. This, as far as I'm aware, is his first foray into science fiction, if you don't count Signs, and I don't. Feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong. If he's done other science fiction films before, let me know, because they sure as hell can't be any worse than this. Oh, God, where do I start? Alright, the main problem with this film is, it is just boring. Grade A, mind-numbingly boring. I just sat there and just thinking, something gonna happen, Is anything gonna happen? Ooh, something's happening, and he's being chased by really badly CGI'd baboons. No, I'm not joking, they're baboons or gibbons or some of that primate family. Either way, oh god, just the boredom. The fucking unrelenting boredom. Alright, I should talk more in detail about the film. As per always, spoilers are going to be separated out behind another section elsewhere. I'm going to put a big spoilers tag up, but I am going to talk a little bit about events at the very start of the film, because it's in the info dump at the very start of the film. Like The Last Airbender, pretty much everything you need to know about the setting is dumped into a highly condensed information package in the first 5 minutes of the film. Personally, I don't like that approach. I think that the information about the world should be fed to you as it, just before it becomes relevant, but spread out through the film. I think just giving someone essentially what amounts to just a huge text crawl, it's not a text crawl in this case, but it's the same basic principle, is kind of bad storytelling. But that's just my opinion. I think that, you can work with it either way. So that's the only thing I'm going to be talking about from the film. Everything else will be behind spoilers. Alright, so humanity kills Earth. Earth is no longer inhabitable because stock footage of pollution. No, I'm not kidding. It's just stock footage of pollution the whole goddamn way. There's nothing interesting. This is like, did the polar ice caps melt? Did the ozone layer disintegrate? We're not even going to bother giving a reason. It's just, humanity is evil, industry is evil, and we wiped out the world. And you know what? I don't consider myself an environmentalist, but I am environmentally aware. I do try to recycle. I do try to lower my carbon footprint, as they say. I do try to be careful where I source my food from. I'm not militant about it, but I give a shit. And I'm getting really fucking tired of this crap, like they did in Avatar as well. It's like, people are evil, corporations are evil. Give me some more. Stop insulting me and stop insulting the audience, okay? If you want to talk about the evils of our society and our economy, fine, but actually talk about it. Don't just go pointing fingers and going, evil! Alright, okay, that gripe aside. Sorry, but I really need this. But that gripe aside, so humanity ups and moves en masse. So, we can't evacuate one city, but apparently we can evacuate an entire planet. I'm nitpicking. I shouldn't be nitpicking this early. I apologise, but I really hated this one. It's not quite as bad as Prometheus, but by God, is it getting there. There's going to be some sort of pool outside. Anyway, anything to avoid talking about this. Okay, so humanity ups, leaves the planet, colonizes new solar system, wonderful, and then aliens! Just like that. No, it doesn't give them a name, doesn't say where they came from, doesn't say why they hate us, it's just aliens and they want to kill us. But these aliens don't fight us directly, probably because we have access to wood and water. The two most evil things to the Shyamalan-verse aliens. So instead they send out these biogenetically engineered killing machines called Ursa to do the job for them. These Ursa hunt by smell. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like tracking dogs. You can't hide from them. You can only run because they will track you down. It's a really cool idea. Except for the fact that they hunt by smell alone. Only smell. These things are deaf, blind. They have no sense outside of smell. And they can only smell one thing. Fear. Yeah, meaning they can't even properly track their prey unless the prey is afraid. And this is a plot point in the film. It has to string people up from trees, Predator style, so that the people who see it will become afraid just so it can see them. And this thing was apparently intelligently designed. Fucking wonderful. This is exactly what I think is wrong with Shaymalan. He comes up with an idea that at first glance or first thought sounds really cool and creative. A predator-esque creature that hunts by smell. That's quite a cool concept. You could do a lot with that. But he doesn't think it through. It's the same with, like, Signs and the aliens in Signs. I mean, what if they could be defeated by something really innocuous? That is a pretty cool idea and could be a reasonable twist. It worked in War of the fucking Worlds. But, again, he doesn't think these things through. Anyway, so Earth responds by specially training its soldiers to basically become resistant to fear. They no longer are afraid, and therefore they can just walk up to these things and hack them up. Because, guns would just be a good idea. Yeah, no guns. Everything is done with this sort of, like, multi-bladed thing. It's like a little double-edged lightsaber hilt, and you put different modes in and different shaped blades come out. You can split it apart and get two swords. It's a really cool thing. It's really cool. But you're just thinking, why don't you have a gun? Did I start playing a Final Fantasy video game? Anyway, the aliens respond to this new development by doing nothing. In fact, we never hear from them again. I think, personally, that the air conditioner was left running and the air became so damp they all died. That's my explanation. Take it or leave it. Okay, so that's the information dump at the start of the film, and you can tell straight from the setting, the whole thing is fucking stupid. So, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the start of the film, and again, this is all stuff that's been in the releases and in the trailers. So, if you're sensitive even to that, you might want to turn off now, but personally I wouldn't consider this spoilers because, like I say, this is basically on the blurb. When this is released on DVD, these are the sorts of details that are going to be written on the back of the box. Right, okay, Will Smith and Jaden Smith. Will Smith plays Jaden Smith's father. What a shocker. Jaden Smith is a cadet in this military which is training people to not be afraid of a process called ghosting so that they can fight these Ursa. Okay, fine. Will Smith plays his dad in probably the worst casting decision ever. I will not understand why the casting director or M. Night Shyamalan or whoever's fault this was, and this is a fault, felt the need to put Will Smith in this role, because Will Smith is an affable man. He is a likeable man, and he just puts this air out of likability. Consequently, he is at his best when he plays likeable people. Pretty much any role he's ever been in that he's done well in has been a character that you are supposed to like, and is a character that is, in the context of their world, a likeable person. He plays in this a military dad with exactly 3 emotions. He has angry, he has detached, and he has just an inkling of fatherly love. Just an inkling. But, so basically, he was not suited for this role. I think the only reason he was there is this character is father and son, therefore a father and son should be able to do the role better. What kind of logic does that make? Any decent actor should be able to affect, if you will, any sort of an interpersonal relationship. So they basically got completely the wrong actor in for a really shitty reason. I like Will Smith as an actor. I really do, but he is horribly miscast and consequently delivers a terrible performance. It's not his fault that he delivered a terrible performance in this film. It is the fault of whoever thought that it should have been him in this role. But anyway, through an incredibly contrived sequence of events, the ship that he and his son are on, which is also carrying one of these Ursa for training purposes, is forced to make a crash landing on Earth, which is a Class 1 quarantined planet, which apparently means that everything on the planet has evolved to kill humans. In 1,000 years since we left, everything has evolved to kill us. Even in our absence. Think! It is not asking a lot that writers and directors have a basic inkling as to how these things work. Evolution is taught in schools. You do not need a fucking degree to understand why this sentiment is utterly ridiculous. I did the same thing in Prometheus. Oh, God. Right, okay, I need to calm down. Take a knee, as they say in the film. That's the other one. Whenever Jaden gets all... he just says, take a knee, and he kneels on the floor, and then all the emotion goes away. You know, that I can believe, because if he's being trained to control his emotions and fears, it makes sense that there's some sort of, mantra in place. I'm just so pissed off with this film that even the things that it does that are alright annoy me. Okay, so... they crash land on Earth, and conveniently they are the only two people to survive. However, Will Smith's leg's broken, and he's, really badly crippled, so he can't go anywhere, and their only distress beacon didn't survive the crash. Fortunately, the ship broke up during re-entry, and the tail section has crashed 100 kilometres away, and there's apparently going to be a distress beacon in that, which, should still work. Because, the one in this section was destroyed in the crash, so that one's probably going to fail. Not going to work either, but hey, what the hell, without it we don't have a film, so whatever. Okay, so obviously the Ursa has escaped. I need to make think, maybe it's escaped, maybe it hasn't. Well, yes, we know it's going to have escaped. We know it because this film is predictable and boring. Alright, so then the bulk of the film is Jaden having to trek across a jungle through to where the tail section of the ship has come down. Which brings me to my first major criticism of the film from its conception. There is absolutely no reason at all for this to be set on Earth, and the setting and the decision to set it on Earth mystifies me because it brings nothing to the film. Let me explain. The concept of needing to travel across a familiar territory that has become unfamiliar due to the passage of time is interesting. Those of you who've played Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, will be aware of what they did, and the idea of these cities have been abandoned for so long that they're now essentially dangerous minefields of collapsing stuff, and they're very alien to the characters. And that's a really cool concept. If a character had to cross a city like that, I mean, you've got unstable walkways, domesticated animals that have gone feral. Can you imagine a feral hamster coming straight at you at eyeball height? That joke's wasted on most of you. Anyway, that you can do a lot with the concept of the familiar being turned unfamiliar. So setting it on Earth would therefore make cool sense. You'd have all this, what are these cities like after being left for 1,000 years? What challenges does a person face? Instead, the entire thing is set in a jungle. So it's just your basic survival thing. There's no interesting elements. There's nothing that's unfamiliar to anyone who's seen a nature show. There's nothing that the audience can connect with that has been distorted to make it interesting. So why set it on Earth? If you're not going to use something familiar to the audience that you can twist, what's the point? You might as well set it on an alien planet and create some really cool designs for the local wildlife. That would be cool. I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting in the cinema and watching a really creative design chasing Jaden. And that would be a pretty sweet movie. I think it would be a lot more interesting than what we got, which is the worst of both worlds. Completely familiar setting, completely familiar antagonists, if you will. What's the point? I don't get it. Anyway, just having a look at my notes. Where to go next? Anyway, Jaden Smith I actually quite liked. Well, Will Smith is horribly miscast. Jaden, I don't think has been in enough movies yet to really find his sort of niche. And he actually works quite well in this role. The only problem is that the performance is limited by the writing. But then again, perhaps the writing has been tailored in such a way to accommodate Jaden's current skill. Guy's a young actor. Guy's still perfecting his craft. Not everyone can be the kids from Game of Thrones. And to be honest, the performance that he turns in works. He has a very expressive face, and I can see him becoming a very good physical actor as he gets more experience and more training. So, I quite like the performance he put in. The only problem is he's either whinging or in agony. Those are the only two modes that he puts in through the entire film, but it's consistent with the writing. So, on that score, he did as well as he could with the material that he was given, and to be honest, I'm interested enough in the performance that he gave that I'm going to keep an eye on his career. I think, as I say, he could turn out to be quite a good actor. Now, there are a lot of stupid moments in this film, and I think that I'm going to transition into spoilers in a moment, but for those of you who don't want them, I'm just going to give you a quick overview here of this film. Don't fucking bother. Unless you really, really want to see some absolutely atrocious CGI animals chasing Will Smith's son through a jungle, this film has fuck all for you. The father-son relationship is crap. Will Smith delivers a terrible performance, again, not due to his acting ability, but due to being horribly miscast. The setting is completely uninspired. There isn't even, as far as I could tell, the Shyamalan-style twist, so there's nothing to laugh at or be amazed by, depending on whether it's a good one or a bad one. It's probably a mercy, given the way he's gone recently. It's almost certainly going to be a bad one. Ultimately, there is nothing to this film. It's half an hour of setup for an hour of Jaden Smith being chased through the jungle by badly CGI'd animals, and then half an hour or so of pathos, I suppose. Alright, the ending had one good moment in it, and I don't think I'm giving away too much in the way of spoilers when I say that the ghosting thing plays a big role in the ending. But the moment where Jaden sort of kind of gives up and becomes not afraid anymore, he actually acts that quite well. I was saying before about him having a very expressive face. He puts a lot of his acting is through his expressions. Not so much with his tone of voice or things like that, but I think if he worked on those, as I say, he's just got a very good physical acting ability. So, there are good bits in the film, but when I say bits, I mean tiny little grains, like just a moment where Will hugs Jaden, and you just get a little sense of the relationship between them. And that's it. That is what I qualify as a good moment. The action set pieces are just Jaden Smith runs away from things. The story is boring. The characters are boring. The acting is boring. It's just boring. Spoilers! Okay. I don't even have much in the way to say of spoilers, to be honest. This film is so fucking plastic and dull that there's nothing to spoiler. I have told you the entire film without needing to resort to spoilers. Okay, there are a few bits. I'm going to indulge in some nitpicking, so you'll have to excuse me. This film feels like a video game, alright? This film would work better as a video game. All of these little gimmicks that Jaden's suit has, like it changes colour to respond to danger around, and he has the standard comm link on his arm, and Will Smith back in the ship can like see all his vitals and is constantly feeding him information. There's the multi-blade weapon thingy that they call a cutlass that I mentioned earlier. This is all stuff that you typically find in a video game. And to be honest, a video game about needing to get from point A to point B through a jungle with all this high-tech stuff could actually be quite cool. But that will hopefully give you a better idea of the tone and feel of this monstrosity. What else is there to say? Oh god, the eagle. The fucking eagle. You know, like, years and years ago, I think it was Time magazine declared that Shaymalan was going to be the next Spielberg. Oh. Now, Spielberg has these very, like, sentimental, schmaltzy moments in his films. He's very much sort of family director, for the most part. There are obviously exceptions to this rule. But this is his... Spielberg would look at this and go, this is the sort of shit that you would put in the fucking Care Bears, you tit. And another bottle. This spoilers section brought to you by Wells Banana Bread Beer. Where's my opener? Bottle opener. There we are. Oh, God, yeah, the eagle. Okay, so, like I say, most of this film is essentially Jaden Smith running away from various dangerous fauna. One item of fauna, in this case, being an eagle. A fucking great big eagle. Basically, they get to these falls, and Jaden Smith has lied about how much area is left, because apparently, while Earth can still support all these huge animals with massive oxygen requirements, especially birds, which need a huge amount of oxygen for flight, apparently a human being can't breathe there anymore. I don't know. Why? Cheese. So anyway, he's got these inhalers that basically apparently line his throat to increase the efficiency of oxygen extraction. He breaks 2 of them when he's running away from the baboons. Yes, that is an actual thing. He runs away from a pack of baboons, gibbons, whatever. Some sort of primate of the monkey family. And I probably got the taxonomy completely wrong there, so whatever. Anyway, he breaks a couple of them, so Will Smith says, "You've got to turn back," and he goes, "No, I won't turn back," and then Will Smith punches the numbers, and apparently the only way he can get there on the remaining air, if you will, that he has left, is to jump off this waterfall and use a wingsuit to go flying. And apparently Jaden magically knows this, even though Will Smith doesn't tell him it, and he just says, "I'm not a coward, I'm not a coward, you're the coward, you were there when the Ursa came and killed my sister." Oh yeah, there's a load of like flashbacks regarding to the dead sister or something, and the effect that it had on him growing up, because he had to watch the Ursa hit her around the room, and there's no emotional weight to it. I know I'm describing it to you, it sounds like, oh, this big emotional tragedy, but there's no fucking weight. Anyway, so he jumps off the cliff after squealing at his father about how much of a pussy his dad is. And he uses the wingsuit, and then the eagle comes and grabs him and takes it back to his nest. So he's sitting in the eagle's nest, which he's apparently going to be food for his chicks. This is, of course, entirely stupid. Anyone who knows how birds of prey hunt will, of course, be aware that they tend to put their talons into whatever they are dive bombing and actually picking up. They don't gently grab you, gently grab their prey, being sure not to hurt it in any way, shape or form. They dig the fucking talons in. Is it talons? Or is the talon the little bit on the back and the other ones have a different name? I'm sure someone will correct me. Anyway, so he's taken back to the nest, miraculously unharmed. The chicks are like hovering around and pecking at him, and he's like, "Oh, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off." And then the nest is attacked by tiger hyena things, and in the ensuing fight, all the chicks are killed. And Jaden escapes as he sees the mother lifting up the wings of the chick, trying to make it move, but it's dead, and she lets out a scream, and it's so boring. It's extremely difficult to actually have empathy for this CGI effect. You know, if it looked real, I might actually have some empathy. I might be going, oh, even if it's an animal, it's just a mother who's just lost her children. But the CGI is so bad. It's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. I can't bring myself to believe that any of this stuff is real. And if I can't believe it's real, even if I'm trying to believe it's real, I can't get invested, I can't care, I can't have an emotional response to this, and ultimately the film just becomes boring because I'm watching images on a screen. Without emotional investment, it's just images on a screen. But that's not the worst of it. You may be thinking from what I said about the whole Spielberg thing that, you know, that's the big, oh, weepy, sentimentalist family moment. It fucking isn't. It gets worse. So apparently, whatever we did to fuck up the planet has fucked it up so badly that every time night falls, the temperature just crashes down into like unsurvivable freezing temperatures, despite the fact that the planet remains perfectly habitable temperature for most of the day. Alright, fair enough. I mean, there are places on the world that have huge temperature shifts, the deserts being a prime example, of course, but this is a jungle, and yeah, I don't have a fucking clue why it gets so cold. When, you know, I don't get it. You know, apparently, you know, we're done so much damage to the environment that we've broken the laws of physics. Or we've knocked the Earth out of its orbit or something. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I don't care. Why do you? Oh god, it makes it better. That makes it so much better. So the eagle makes a comeback. Apparently there are geothermal hot pockets between the crash section and the tail section. And so long as Jaden gets to one of those before nightfall, he'll be alright. Another little element like a video game. And he doesn't make it to one. And he crashes down to the ground as everything is freezing around him. Literally, the temperature goes down so quick that everything just goes and ice covers everything. Like that, just frozen. So he falls to the ground, he's like, and then the camera shows him being dragged. You know, if we get Jaden's eye point of view as he's dragged away. And then we get another one of him being dragged. And just to make sure that you understand that he's being dragged, we get a third one and a fourth shot of him being dragged. And then he wakes up underground. And he wakes up and he punches his way out through this stuff that's buried him. He's got foliage over the top of it. I have no idea how that was supposed to keep enough of his body heat in one place to stop him freezing to death. But hey, I like to think about these things, so clearly I'm a fucking idiot. Anyway, he breaks out, and there's the eagle. Having lost her children, she gave her life to defend somebody else's. Aww. Because clearly animals can think in that sort of way. She had absolutely no problem feeding him to her babies, absolutely no problem killing someone else's kid to save her own, but now that her own kids are gone, well, golly gosh darn it, she's going to give up her life so that someone else can live, because animals can think that way and will behave in that way towards someone out of their own species. And animals have altruistic behaviour. They do. Dogs, especially, can put themselves in great danger to save people. But this is a fucking bird of prey. It's a giant fucking eagle. Badly CGI'd one. But this just makes no sense. And it's just such a cheap and manipulative way to try and get an emotional response out of the audience. It's terrible. Ugh. Oh, there's the venomous leech, because, you know, a leech has somehow evolved to deliver a toxin instead of an anaesthetic into its prey, because, as we all know, parasites are at their most successful when they kill the victim. Oh, God. What else is there? Oh, I can't even think straight about this shit. When I came out of Prometheus, there was so much crap in there that I was basically able to reel it off and off and off. But this film was so boring. This film was so dull that I can't even remember that much of it to talk about. The only bits I remember were bits that were so absurdly stupid that they hang out in my mind. I'm going to have to bring it to a close there, because there is nothing more I can say about After Earth. It's just a really boring film with terrible CGI, really, really bad execution, horrible ideas behind it, and this really could be the final nail in Shyamalan's coffin. I can't see after this anyone willing to take a chance on this director again. He's just produced consistently shit movies for far too long now. And the terrible thing is that he has his following. And he did have his following. And as I say, at one point, people believed he was going to be the next Spielberg. What the hell happened? Anyway, for now, I'm Evis T, signing off, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take out shares in one of the local breweries.